Hey, I'm Mark. Hey, let's go. It's Christmas season. You know how I know? Because Hans Gruber fell from the 30th floor of the Nakatomi Towers. You know what else goes along with Christmas season? It's bowl season. I want to get home for the Place Random Product Here Bowl. What? Oh, man. You again? I tell you, the elevator is reaching the penthouse, but the doors are stuck. All right, let's go. Close the door. Speaking of, get the books closed. Why? Because I'm a history teacher, and I'm going rogue. When we look out across the college sports landscape, we consider the television contracts that are coming up in a couple years. The last time television contracts came up, we had a period of conference expansion. Some schools won in the last round of expansion. Check out my video of expansion winners. Today, we're going to look at the teams that took it in the shorts in the last round of conference expansion. Let's go rogue. Number 5, BYU. Remember in the 1980s when BYU was the team that everyone hated? It went beyond the state of Utah in the Mountain West. I mean, I went to school at an unnamed state university in Fresno, California. We weren't even in the same conference as BYU, and we even had a special disdain for the Cougars. And I'm sure that Ty Detmer and Robbie Bosco and Steve Young all loved it. But now, BYU barely moves the needle on anything. Now I'm in Boise. The Broncos have a long-term contract with the Cougs, and it's just another game. What happened? The sports history of BYU is closely tied to that of the University of Utah. Not that BYU likes that, but both schools were founding members of the Western Athletic Conference. They're both founding members of the Mountain West Conference. And during their time in the WAC and the MWC, BYU won a buttload of conference championships and a national title in 1983. Then came 2010 realignment. As the flagship school of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, BYU refuses to play its events on Sunday. Even with the possibility of millions of dollars in a major conference like the Big Ten, BYU stuck by its guns. In 2010, Utah was invited to the Pac-10, along with Colorado. But rather than stay in the Mountain West, BYU became a football independent, hoping to become an LDS version of Notre Dame. Or maybe they're just biding their time and waiting for the big XII to expand, like maybe to 12 teams. Well, without a conference to dominate, BYU became somewhat irrelevant to those outside of the LDS church. As an independent, they have to schedule 12 games every year, unlike conference-affiliated schools that have 8 or 9 games automatically scheduled. As conferences have gone from 12 to 14 teams, there are fewer and fewer openings for BYU to fill. They schedule a couple of prominent major conference teams each year, but they have had to fill out their schedule with 4 or 5 Mountain West teams each year. The very conference they tried to get away from. What's been the result? Well, in the first decade of the 2000s, BYU was 88-50, a .638 winning percentage. But after going independent, BYU's gone 70-45, a .609 winning percentage. But at the cost of moving out of college football relevancy? Number 4, Nebraska. Another school made irrelevant by conference realignment. Nebraska was like a roided up secular BYU in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You know about the rivalry between Nebraska and Oklahoma. In 2010, fearing that Texas was becoming the dominant political power in the Big 12, Nebraska bolted and became the 12th member of the Big 10, leaving the Big 12 with 11. Somewhere there. Much can be said of Nebraska's history of football. Just in the first decade of the 2000s, Nebraska was 94-48, a .662 winning percentage. Since joining the Big 10, Nebraska's gone 66-49, a .569 winning percentage overall. In its last 3 seasons in the Big 12, Nebraska was a net winner by an average score of 24-19. During its last 3 years in the Big 10, Nebraska has been a net loser, being outscored by 2 touchdowns on average, 38-25. Number 3, Maryland. Proof that you don't have to have a successful program, you just need to have a big market. In an effort to grub more money, the Big Ten extended an invitation to Maryland to the ACC. As a football school, Maryland brought little to the conference. As a basketball power, it brought some gravitas. But the importance of Maryland to the Big Ten was the Washington, D.C. television market, with about 3 million pairs of eyeballs. Gone was the traditional rivalry with Virginia and the ACC basketball fights. In 13 years before moving to the Big Ten, Maryland was 93-80, just over a .500 winning percentage, playing teams like Wake Forest and Duke, North Carolina and North Carolina State. Since joining the Big Ten and being stuck in the East Division with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Michigan State, Maryland is 28-44, a .389 winning percentage. In its last 4 years in the ACC, Maryland was a net loser by an average score of 30-23. In its last 3 years in the Big Ten, Maryland has lost by an average score of 36-20. It's hard to create a rivalry with Penn State when they've beaten you over the last 3 years by a combined score of 163-6. Number 2, Rutgers. God, Rutgers is bad. First of all, it's in Piscataway, New Jersey. Piscataway. Rutgers' story mirrors that of Maryland, a moderately successful program in a large TV market being asked to join the Big Ten. It reminds me of an episode of Everybody Loves Raymond where Robert joins a cult, but the cult only accepted him because they thought they could get to his more prominent brother as well. Rutgers won a couple of Big East championships under Greg Schiano, then moved to the Big Ten. Between 2000 and 2013, the last year in the Big East, Rutgers was 86-82, a .512 winning percentage. After joining the Big Ten, they were put in the East Division with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State, and they've gone 21-51, a .292 winning percentage. In the last 3 years in the Big East, Rutgers was a net loser, 25-22. In the last 3 years in the Big Ten, Rutgers was an even bigger net loser by an average score of 35-10. Number 1, the biggest loser in conference realignment, the University of Arkansas. Arkansas never made a move. It has been a long-time member of the Southeast Conference, and boy, did it get screwed by their own. It is like the SEC was kicking Arkansas in the teeth while bending over backwards to get Texas A&M to leave the Big 12. Before 2013, Arkansas's last game, its rivalry game, was with LSU, the Golden Boot. In 2014, when Texas A&M joined the SEC, Arkansas was given a different kind of Golden Boot. The game with LSU was moved, and Texas A&M now plays LSU as its last game. The SEC then imposed the battle line rivalry on Arkansas and Missouri. Two teams that only met in 3 regular season games prior to 2014. Between 2000 and 2013, the year before Texas A&M joined the SEC, Arkansas went 92-59. Since Texas A&M joined in 2014, Arkansas has gone 37-61. And in the 4 years prior to Texas A&M joining the SEC, Arkansas was a net winner in a division that included Alabama, Auburn, and LSU by an average score of 31-29, including 4 wins over non-conference Texas A&M. In the last 4 years, with Texas A&M sharing the West Division, Arkansas is a net loser by a score of 40-22. And since A&M has joined the SEC, Arkansas has not beaten them. Oh, Razorbacks. So how's your team done since the last round of conference realignment? Has your team been a winner or a loser? I appreciate you coming by. Subscribe if you enjoyed it. Check out some of my other videos. Sports, pop culture, weird historical stuff. I want to thank my producer, Casey Moulton, and Avery, and Alex, and Mr. Brent Allen for letting me borrow his studio here on the campus of Columbia High School. And remember, as you're watching the battle line game between Arkansas and Missouri, remember me. I'm Mark Haggard. I'm a history teacher, and I've gone rogue.